Most people spend their lives waiting for luck. They wait for the right person, the right chance, the right timing. They call it fate, coincidence, divine timing. Anything that makes uncertainty feel noble. But what if luck was never random? What if it was an echo of your own tone? I learned this the hard way. There was a night, quiet, heavy, the kind of silence that makes the walls hum. I was sitting at my desk, staring at a list of plans that once felt certain. Everything I'd built seemed to be unraveling. Projects delayed, doors closed, messages unanswered. I remember whispering, almost sarcastically, "Maybe I just need better luck." No answer, just the sound of the city breathing through the window. But somewhere inside that silence, a question rose. What if luck isn't given? What if it's provoked? It didn't feel like motivation. It felt like recognition, like remembering something I'd always known but ignored because it sounded too simple. If money, opportunity, and even health respond to energy, then why wouldn't luck? Why would it be the only force that doesn't listen? I leaned back, eyes half closed, and noticed the space between my thoughts. That strange calm after frustration burns itself out, and in that stillness, something subtle shifted, like the air had weight again. It wasn't luck changing, it was me. The tone of my energy had dropped from panic to peace, from please to enough. That's when I realized luck doesn't arrive by chance. It aligns by frequency. It follows certainty like metal to a magnet. It listens for the ones who have stopped asking and started remembering. You've seen it before. Someone who seems to always get lucky. They lose a job and land a better one within days. They miss a flight and meet the person who changes everything. It isn't chaos, it's coherence. Life bends toward the tone of the one who believes it already will. That night, I saw my reflection in the dark screen, not a victim of timing, but a transmitter out of tune. All those years of pushing, planning, hustling for the perfect break had one thing in common: noise. Noise in my thoughts, in my tone, in my inner conversations. And the universe, being the perfect mirror that it is, had been matching that noise exactly. When you finally stop chasing luck and start tuning your energy, something strange happens. You notice small shifts first. The text that arrives at the perfect moment, the call you didn't expect, the pause in traffic that saves you from being late. It's not coincidence, it's feedback. Reality confirming it can finally hear you clearly, because luck isn't fortune's favor, it's frequency recognition. The universe doesn't reward effort, it responds to tone, and that tone is shaped by one thing: the state you're in when no one's looking. So if you've been waiting for luck to find you, stop. Luck has been waiting for your signal this entire time. From here on, you're not chasing luck. You're remembering how to speak in the language it already understands. The more you start watching how life moves, the harder it is to keep believing in coincidence. Everything, every call, delay, and detour seems to follow a pattern so exact it feels designed. And it is. Because reality doesn't respond to effort, it responds to tone. You can think of tone as the emotional frequency behind every thought. It's what you're really saying when you're not saying anything at all. You might tell yourself, "I'm ready for change," but if your tone still hums with doubt, life hears the doubt, not the words. That's why two people can do the same thing, say the same affirmation, work the same hours, yet one of them glides while the other grinds. The universe isn't rewarding action, it's synchronizing with vibration. I didn't always believe this. I used to think energy talk was just spiritual decoration, something people said when they ran out of logical explanations. But then I began noticing it everywhere. In conversations, in business meetings, even in silence. Tone determined everything. You could feel it when someone walked into a room before they spoke. Some people carried expansion, others carried resistance. And life, always perfect in its imitation, simply mirrored whichever tone dominated the air. Neville Goddard called it state. Science calls it frequency. Call it whatever you want. It's the same law. You cannot hold a tone of worry and receive a life of ease. You cannot vibrate in waiting and manifest readiness. The law doesn't bend, it harmonizes. Once you see that, you stop chasing outcomes and start studying your inner sound. You start asking, what am I really broadcasting right now? And that's when subtle miracles begin to appear. The job offer that should have taken weeks arrives tomorrow. The person you were thinking about messages you out of nowhere. Doors you didn't even know existed start to open, not because luck suddenly found you, but because you finally began to match what you were asking for. Everything in existence moves by rhythm. The ocean, the breath, the seasons. None of them force motion. They flow by tone. When your tone matches clarity, clarity becomes your rhythm. When it matches uncertainty, delay becomes your rhythm. Life doesn't punish, it synchronizes. There was a week I remember vividly, a quiet shift that proved this truth. Nothing external changed. Same schedule, same work, same surroundings. But I decided that week to speak less and feel more, to stop narrating struggle and simply hold the frequency of calm completion. And within days, small things began rearranging themselves. Emails answered faster, payments cleared sooner, people started saying I was just thinking about you. It felt like the invisible side of life had finally caught my rhythm and decided to dance along. That's how tone works. It doesn't shout, it tunes. It aligns the unseen long before the seen catches up. That's why chasing luck never works. It's like changing stations without turning the dial. The picture won't appear until the signal is clear. So the real question isn't when will my luck change? It's what tone am I teaching life to repeat? Because life is your perfect student. It copies you flawlessly. And once you understand that, control no longer looks like effort. It looks like awareness. In the next minute, you'll begin to feel what happens when awareness deepens into command. When you stop testing the frequency and start trusting it. When the outer world begins to move to the rhythm of your inner tone. There comes a point when the world stops feeling random. You start noticing how timing repeats. How the right person appears the moment you stop chasing. How things that once resisted now quietly align. And it doesn't feel like luck anymore. It feels like recognition. The universe begins moving around you differently, as if it finally understands the tone you're speaking in. The same tone that once whispered uncertainty now carries weight. It doesn't demand. It directs. It doesn't beg. It becomes. At first, the signs are small. A message answered sooner than expected. A delay that turns into perfect timing. An opportunity that arrives disguised as coincidence. You try to explain it away. You say it's random or convenient or maybe good energy. But deep down, you know what's happening. Reality is rearranging itself to match your rhythm. Neville said, "You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are." And that's when you realize something profound. It's never been about wishing for luck. It's about holding the frequency that luck already understands. Luck doesn't visit by chance. It responds to familiarity. And when your state carries the vibration of inevitability, it has no choice but to find you. There was a moment I'll never forget. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just still. I was sitting in a cafe, nothing special about the day. But suddenly, everything felt organized. The noise around me faded into rhythm. Even the clinking of cups seemed to sync with my breath. And I knew, without words, that something invisible was listening. Not judging, not testing, listening. That was the first time I felt resonance. It wasn't magic. It was memory. As if the world was remembering who I was before I forgot. That's the shift most people miss. They're waiting for a miracle to prove the law, but the law has been proving itself every second, through emotion, through rhythm, through timing. The moment you stop asking for proof, life finally has room to deliver it. Because luck isn't a coin toss, it's coherence. A perfect synchronization between your inner certainty and outer reflection. You feel it when your body relaxes, when you stop trying to fix what was never broken, when you start walking through the world like it already heard you. And once you feel that, you stop doubting the silence between your words. You realize it isn't emptiness, it's alignment. The same stillness that precedes every creation. The same quiet frequency the universe listens for before it moves. Most people never reach that stillness because they keep talking over it. They fill it with worry, with noise, with questions that don't need answers. But when you finally stop, when you sit in that soft gap between wanting and knowing, the field begins to rearrange itself faster than you can think. And everything that once felt far starts moving closer. You begin to feel it before it happens. The subtle shift, the calm confidence that makes even uncertainty feel safe. Because at that point, luck is no longer something you wait for. It's something you embody. And once you do, life can't help but obey. There's a silence that arrives before everything changes. Not the silence of absence, the silence of completion. It creeps in quietly, soft at first, almost unnoticeable, like the universe holding its breath. You wake up one morning, and the usual noise in your head is gone. No more asking when, no more wondering how, just a strange calm, the kind that feels like the world has already made up its mind. People start responding differently. Conversations stretch longer. Even time bends a little. You get what you need exactly when you need it. And for a second, you forget to call it luck, because deep down, you know it isn't luck at all. It's recognition. The universe isn't a slot machine waiting for your prayers to line up. It's a living field that's been waiting for a tone it can understand. And one night, you'll feel it. It might come while you're sitting in traffic, or washing dishes, or staring at the ceiling in that quiet hour before sleep. You'll feel a pull in your chest, a stillness so heavy it feels like the air is listening. And from that stillness, the words will come. Not planned, not rehearsed, just remembered. And when that remembrance settles in, when you stop trying to prove yourself to life, the words arrive, softly, naturally. They come through you, not from you. Say them now, slowly. The universe answers my tone. Don't say it for effect. Say it because somewhere inside you, it already feels true. The universe answers my tone. Feel the stillness that follows? That isn't emptiness. That's confirmation. That's life aligning to your frequency. Say it again, quieter this time. Let it vibrate in your chest. The universe answers my tone. Each repetition isn't about belief. It's about memory. You're reminding the world what you forgot to command. Say it once more. Not to convince yourself, but to finalize the decree. The universe answers my tone. That's it. You don't chase. You don't check for results. A true command doesn't ask, did it work? It knows the answer before the question exists. Now, write it below. Exactly as it is. Not for engagement, for embodiment. So the field recognizes your signature. Type it. The universe answers my tone. Because when you put it in writing, you're anchoring it into the physical world. You're not hoping. You're sealing an order. This is the moment where most people feel something subtle shift. A lightness, a knowing, an unexplainable calm. That's how you know the signal was received. I remember the first time I spoke it. Nothing seemed to happen, at least not outwardly. The air just felt heavier, aware, as if the room itself had started breathing with me. It was 2:47 a.m., that hour when the city hum fades into silence and you can hear your own heartbeat between thoughts. Bills were stacked on the table, emails unanswered. Every plan I had ever built felt distant, almost childish. I wasn't trying to manifest. I wasn't reciting anything. I just whispered it. The universe answers my tone. And for the first time, I didn't listen for a reply. I just sat there, still. There was a density in the air, a quiet weight that felt ancient, familiar. Like the space around me was waiting to move, but needed me to stop moving first. I went to sleep soon after, not relieved, not certain, just empty in a peaceful way. The next morning, my phone buzzed before sunrise. An email from a client I hadn't heard from in months. Payment processed. Approved overnight. When I scrolled down to the details, I froze. Timestamp. 2:47 a.m. The exact minute I spoke the words. That's when I realized it had nothing to do with coincidence. It wasn't luck, wasn't alignment, wasn't manifestation. It was response. The universe had been still the entire time, waiting for a tone it could recognize. That one event might sound small, but everything changed after it. Calls started landing at perfect moments. Projects that were dead came back alive. Even people I thought had forgotten me suddenly remembered. It wasn't random, it was rhythmic. A new pulse had replaced the old noise. I began testing it silently, speaking only when I felt that calm certainty. And every time I did, life mirrored it faster. Emails cleared, doors opened, opportunities aligned. Not because I shouted louder, but because I stopped contradicting myself. That's when it became clear. The universe doesn't follow words. It follows tone. Luck was never random. It was simply waiting for instruction. And now, you've given it one. After you speak a true command, the world doesn't explode into motion. It exhales. Things begin to move in ways so precise, they almost go unnoticed. Not because they're subtle, because they're natural. You're not summoning anything new. You're realigning with what's already yours. You'll start noticing it in small ways first. A message you stopped waiting for suddenly appears. An unexpected refund lands in your account. A delay vanishes without explanation. It's never loud. It's synchronized. Like the universe adjusting its rhythm to match your tone. And you'll realize something powerful. It isn't reacting to your words anymore. It's harmonizing with your certainty. You've crossed the line between asking and knowing. That's why chasing feels impossible now. Because the energy of a chaser and the energy of a commander can't exist in the same body. When you're commanding, you don't reach. You receive. You don't plead. You permit. Everything that used to feel random begins to make sense. The people leaving, the delays, the slow starts, none of them were punishment. They were reorganization. Life was clearing the space so your tone could have room to echo. And now that it's clear, the response is immediate. You'll feel it in your conversations, in the way strangers start mirroring your peace, in how time seems to slow down, just enough for everything to align perfectly. That's the quiet rhythm of authority. It doesn't demand attention, it collects it. This is the point where most people start to smile without knowing why. Because once you've given the universe its instruction, you no longer live in delay. You live in response. That's when wealth starts orbiting you. Not because you're luckier, because you finally sound like someone who deserves it. This is where command becomes identity. You're not repeating it to manifest something. You're breathing it because it's who you are. Say it once more, not as a ritual, but as remembrance. The universe answers my tone. Feel how different it sounds now? Calmer. Truer. That's the voice of someone who doesn't chase blessings. They issue them. And when you carry that tone into the rest of your life, everything answers faster. Emails, ideas, opportunities, people. They're all tuned to the same signal now. So from this moment forward, stop waiting for luck to notice you. You are luck in motion. You are the command that directs fortune. You are the cause every effect is trying to find. If this message reached you, it wasn't by accident. Something in you brought you here to remember. Write it once more below. The universe answers my tone. Let it echo through the feed, through the field, through you. Because when you declare it, the algorithm doesn't just move, the universe does. And if you felt the calm, the stillness, the remembrance in this message, subscribe now before it fades. Not for more videos, for more alignment. Because here, we don't chase luck. We command reality. We remember who we are. And as you walk away from this video, remember, your life doesn't change because you learn new ideas. It changes because you start carrying a new tone. Every word you speak from now on carries weight. Every decision echoes through the field that's already listening. Watch how people respond differently to you now. Notice how the timing of things begins to adjust. You'll catch little signs, conversations that mirror your thoughts, numbers aligning too precisely to be random, moments that feel like déjà vu, because your reality is synchronizing with what you've declared. From now on, let your presence do the work. Let your silence speak louder than effort. Let your tone lead before words even leave your mouth. And every time you start to doubt, return to the phrase that brought you here. The universe answers my tone. Let it become a heartbeat inside you, steady, certain, unstoppable. Because the moment you speak from that truth, you don't chase, you command. You don't wait for blessings, you walk in them. Thank you for watching, and thank you for staying until the end. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.